Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I am really fucking excited for this video. This video has been cooking up for a while, and I've been excited to get it out there. To put it quite simply, the fitness industry is doing my head in. Because if you look at the current trends in the fitness space right now, all you're seeing right now are these influencers pushing excessive extremes and basically dressing it up as prioritizing health. You don't really have to go far on social media nowadays to find someone who's going to be pushing you to do 2 workouts a day. How you need to be eating a poison-free diet and that big food and big pharma are out to make you fat and sick. That you need to be doing like a crazy 20-step morning routine, getting up at 4 a.m. to do ice baths and fucking saunas and all this shit. And not to mention as well, you've got the carnivore whack jobs that are telling you to lick burger juice off of chopping boards too. To put it simply, most of the advice that you see online nowadays when it comes to getting in shape is either excessive, unrealistic, or it's just not built for the average person that loves a pint or a pastry. Now you see me, on the other hand, I'm a firm believer that you are a product of what you do consistently, not perfectly. And that your health and your physique are not determined by one singular food or one single thing that you do to your body. You are literally a product of long-term habit, not short-term behavior. So I genuinely do believe that you can be a pint drinker or a pastry destroyer and still get in shit hot shape and be healthy as fuck. And don't worry, to prove my points, I'm coming with receipts. I'm going to introduce you to 3 of my superstar clients. We've got Kyle, who's lost 45 kilos. We've got Frankie, who's lost 28 kilos working with me. And we've also got Sarah, who's lost 27 kilos working with me. With all 3 of those clients, along the way in their incredible journeys, they've all had to deal with nights out, date nights, weddings, festivals, parties, stag do's, holidays, all this sort of stuff. And in the case of Frankie and Sarah in particular, who are both Forest fans like me, they are subject to a pint or 2 before every Forest game during the season as well. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 pillars that helped each of these clients get shit hot results without swerving the pints or the pastries. So let's dive in, shall we? The first pillar is what I call the anti-boring fucker diet strategy. Let me quickly run you through what the foundations of that strategy looks like. For a start, I just got these clients to track protein and calories. That was it. They didn't need to faff around trying to meet specific carbs and fat targets because I don't know whether you know this, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to fat loss or when it comes to muscle building. The only thing that really kind of changes your composition is going to be your calorie intake. Of course, you need to be in a deficit to lose body fat, surplus to gain fat, of course. And of course, the level of protein that you're taking in, right? You need sufficient protein in there to be able to maintain or even build muscle mass. Those are the only 2 things that are going to contribute to changing the way that your physique looks. Now, before any of those clients touched a pint or a pastry, they had these 3 priorities in place with their nutrition first and foremost before they had the good stuff. Those 3 priorities were protein, nutrients, and high volume foods. At the end of the day, if you want to build a half decent rig and actually have a decent level of health behind you, you're going to have to prioritize the nutrients that are going to get you there. You need sufficient protein to be able to maintain muscle mass, but also to increase your satiety during a diet phase, which, when you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to get hungry at some point as you're losing body fat. Having more protein in your diet is just going to help to manage your hunger so much better. Getting more nutrients in your diet obviously makes sense, right? If you want to make sure that you've got a good amount of energy to make sure you're recovering well, performing well in the gym, you're sleeping well, and ultimately, from a brain perspective as well, you're cognitively well balanced. Again, you're going to need the nutrients in your diet, which is why I got every one of those clients to focus on having at least, a serving of fruit or veg with every single one of their main meals and prioritizing more nutrient-dense foods wherever they possibly could. And then, of course, the high-volume foods as well. Those foods were in there very simply to be able to bulk out their meals and, again, increase hunger management all around, stop them from getting hungry, and stop them from raiding the snacks when they were super hungry. And with those priorities in place, we basically had a winning recipe for fat loss. From there, we made sure that around 80% of their daily calorie intake was dedicated towards protein, nutrient-dense foods, and high-volume foods. And with the other 20% of the daily calorie intake, well, they could use it on whatever the hell they wanted. It might have been adding some of their favorite chocolate to a Greek yogurt bowl. It might have been grabbing an oat flat white on the way to work. Something small to kind of keep the enjoyment in their diet on a day-to-day basis. And probably one of the biggest game changers for these clients as well was this concept that I call flexible meal planning. Now, if you can't already tell, I'm not a fan of your traditional bodybuilder meal plans. Eating the same boring as fuck meals every single day on repeat, well, it's a recipe for disaster, right? Especially if you're a normal person with a decent level of taste buds. But one of the biggest advantages of meal planning is that it takes the decision fatigue away. It stops you panicking on a day-to-day basis when you have no idea what you're meant to be eating to try and reach your goals for the day. And that's where this concept of flexible meal planning comes in. So what I got all 3 of those clients to do was come together and create 2 to 3 different options for them to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day during the weeks. And then they'd simply rotate between these meals on a day-to-day basis throughout the weeks when they were busy with work. This way, they got the best of both worlds. They got the structure and the kind of decision fatigue reducing effect of being able to follow a meal plan because they had these meals quite frequently. But because they were rotating between different options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the week, they had that variety aspect there as well. So it didn't feel like they was eating the same things day in, day out. So they had the structure and they had the enjoyment. It's a winning combination. Pillar number 2 is the simple send it framework. My biggest priority as a coach is to make sure that I build the game plan to work around the client's lifestyle, not dictate it. You see, none of my clients are fully fledged fitness wankers. They have full-time jobs, families, kids, relationships, and a social life to keep up. My aim with every single client that I work with is to try and get them to get a lot out of doing the very, very minimum. So for Kyle, that meant training 3 times a week while he was working away in basic commercial gyms so that he could go home on the weekends, relax, unwind, and spend time with family and friends. For Sarah, that meant 4 sessions in the working week, 1 long run on the weekends, and even a cheeky little high rock session in there as well. And for Frankie, who's a desk-bound dad of 2, we focused on getting 2 45-minute sessions in per week in the gym. He played badminton on a Friday night, and then he'd go for a little bit of a long run on the weekends when he had a bit more free time. You see, where a lot of people go wrong with the training aspect of fat loss is that they try to do too much with the time that they simply don't have. I'll always maintain that you don't need more time, you just need to be better at managing the time that you've got. And you're going to get so much further if you just simply make use of the time that you've got, rather than trying to chase after a level of training or whatever like that that you simply cannot sustain. All right, pillar number 3, the eating out protocol. This is where things get tasty, and I imagine this is probably the reason why you've tuned into this video. So first and foremost, one of the reasons that these clients all did so well in their journeys is because they planned ahead when it comes to every single social occasion on the calendar. They didn't just rock up to every single social plan panicking and thinking, what the fuck am I going to do right now to stay on track and not blow up my progress? We would use our weekly check-ins to plan ahead of time. What we do is, first and foremost, we would either look at banking some calories throughout the week or use a refeed day. Now, if we were going down the route of banking calories, what we do is we would simply take 10 to 20% of their daily calorie intake, save that in the background from Monday to Friday, and then add those saved calories onto their Saturday totals, giving them a much larger calorie intake overall for that specific day. And if it was a refeed day, what I would do with a refeed day is essentially give my clients 1 day at their theoretical maintenance calories, which can often help kind of break up the dieting phase, especially when they've been dieting for long periods of time, they've gone pretty aggressive, they've lost a lot of weight, and they're starting to kind of feel the repercussions of it. But with both the calorie banking strategy and a refeed day, the outcome is exactly the same. The client has way more calories to play around with on a specific day, which means kind of fitting in social plans, especially when it comes to restaurant eating, a hell of a lot easier. The next thing that I would get my clients to do, if possible, is to pre-log the meal in MyFitnessPal ahead of time so we know what we're working with and we know what we need to work around. Now, obviously, this is restaurant dependent, but places like Nando's and Wagamama's all have their menus online. Most of their meals are on the MyFitnessPal database, so it's very, very easy to kind of put that into your food diary. Then we know kind of what we're kind of working with in a sense of how we're going to then build your nutrition around it to make sure that we're staying on track and hitting our targets. However, the majority of the time, restaurants won't really have their calorie information available on menus, so it's going to be very, very hard to track. But don't worry, I've got this covered. To make life easy for those clients, what I would get them to do is to allocate around 1,000 to 1,200 calories for a restaurant meal on a refeed day or on a banked calorie day sort of thing. And then we focus on building out the rest of the diet around it to, make sure we hit their protein goals and obviously get as much nutrients in as we can around that restaurant meal. And I know what you're thinking. You think, freaking out, 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories to put towards one meal. Like, that sounds excessive. But look, I'm not here to pull the wool over your eyes. At the end of the day, the reason that restaurant food tastes so fucking good is because they are absolutely leathered with carbs, fats, sugars, and oils to give them their taste. So if you want to fit this stuff in and still be able to stay on track to lose fat, you've got to make the allocation for it. And then once we've allocated the calories for the restaurant meal on a refeed day or, a banked calorie day, let's say for argument's sake, whatever they've then got left, we'll then focus on hitting their protein goals, filling out every single meal with as many nutrients as possible to maintain their energy levels, maintain their hunger, and keep them going throughout the day. But by managing everything like this, it meant that they was able to go out and socialize guilt-free. They was able to go out and know exactly what they were going to have ahead of time and not feel bad for it because they knew that they've made the allocation for it and they've still managed their nutrition around to stay on track and keep making progress. All right, pillar number 4 is what I call having a couple of Taylor Swifts. That's just my dad joke, despite not actually being a dad, kind of way of basically saying, this is how we're going to manage having a few beers on a night out. So just the same as the eating out protocol, right? What I would like you to do is allocate around 1,000 to 1,200 calories for the purpose of going out for a few drinks. And again, I know that sounds very excessive, but again, I'm not going to pull the wool over your eyes. When it comes to calories from alcohol, not going to lie to you, it's pretty damn severe. Most pints are going to set you back 200 to 300 calories per drink. And it's for that reason, what I said to these clients all the way throughout their journeys is we're going to have the allocation there, but then we're going to set a limit of, 3, 4, or 5 drinks at the very, very maximum. What you could do instead, though, is actually opt for spirits and diet mixers. The average kind of vodka Diet Coke is going to set you back about 90 calories per drink, meaning that you'll probably be able to have more of them in a single night sort of thing, and it won't be as impactful on your overall calories. And something I say to clients all the time, right, is you want to look at your calorie intake across the days, across the week, in a fat loss phase. Look at it like a bit of a money budget. You want to budget your money so that you get the most amount out of what you're spending, right? And it's exactly the same when it comes to using your calories. You want to use the majority of your calories on foods that are going to fill you up, give you a ton of energy, and ultimately, help you to push along in your fat loss journey. So there's that aspect to it. But let's also be honest, right? When you kind of start going above 4 or 5 drinks, like that's when it starts to get, a little bit risky. That's where 5 can quickly turn into 10. You end up sliding into McDonald's on your way home, go through a massive gigantic order. You feel like shit the next day, and then all of a sudden you're just blowing up Deliveroo and getting a shitload of food in. So while you're on this fat loss journey, I would probably recommend, you avoid going out getting hammered as much as you can. And pillar 5 is what I call empathetic accountability. Now, up to this point, there isn't one single thing that I've mentioned in this video that is going to be like the secret weapon to you getting the most shit hot results you can even imagine. The long and short of it is they have been relentlessly consistent over time. Each of those clients has worked with me for a very minimum of a year. And a year is a long time, don't get me wrong. But if you want to really achieve some dramatic results, that's the kind of effort you need to be putting in. And let me be real with you, right? None of those clients have been perfect. All of those clients have made mistakes and they've fucked up from time to time. Sometimes life has absolutely thrown a shitstorm at them and it's completely thrown them off track and they never saw it coming. And believe me, they've all gone through those periods where they absolutely could not be asked to go to the gym, drag themselves outside for steps, manage their nutrition, especially when, hunger and cravings is going through the absolute roof. And they've had those days where they've even doubted whether they want to carry on. But just as I keep saying throughout this video, they are a product of long-term habit, not short-term behavior. Any setbacks that they've encountered, whether it's through their own decision-making or whether it's just life being an absolute dickhead to them, they've always bounced back straight away, got the momentum back, and just carried on, following the game plan, putting their trust into it, and just letting time do its thing. And that is the reason why all of them have got such unbelievable results. So there you have it. Those are the 5 pillars that helped each and every one of these clients get absolutely shit hot results without swerving the pints or the pastries. I'm in this game to help you understand that you can go for a couple of pints with your mates or go out for a nice meal with your missus, and it's not going to blow back or fuck up your health or your physique. The fitness industry is full of doom merchants that reckon absolutely everything and anything is out to kill you, make you fat, or make you sick. And while it's true, I am here to help you become the very best version of yourself. And I do want you to get strong, lean, fit, fast, and look like the absolute dog's bollocks in your clothes. I also want you to be able to have some fun along the way, because life's too short to be controlled by a piece of Tupperware and a step count. If you want to get results like Kyle, Frankie, or Sarah, and you want a taste of the coaching process that got those results, well, I'm giving away 4 weeks of coaching completely for free. There's absolutely zero catch or tie-ins involved in this. And I'm not here to beat away at your insecurities until the point that you hand over some cash to work with me. I just want to give you a taste of what realistic coaching looks like. You can literally just get a taste of what it's like to work with me for 4 weeks completely for free. And if you like it, cool. You might want to continue working with me afterwards and we get shit hot results together. Or if you think I'm an absolute fraud, well, you haven't exactly spent any money. So therefore, you're all good. Anyway, the link to my 4 weeks of free coaching is in the description below. Just hit the link and we'll get the ball rolling. But that's all from me in this video anyway. I'll catch you in the next one.